Hey, everybody, and welcome back for another deep dive. We spend a lot of time on this show talking about the mysteries of the body, right? And today we're diving into a topic that I think a lot of us have probably experienced firsthand. Those moments when it feels like our blood pressure has decided to go rogue.
Like it's on a roller coaster.
Exactly. One minute you're chilling, the next minute your heart's doing a drum solo.
It's like, what's going on in there?
Right. So whether you're gearing up for a doctor's appointment, just curious about those numbers on your home blood pressure monitor, or maybe you just really relate to the whole roller coaster analogy.
Who doesn't love a good roller coaster? Am I right?
Well, maybe not when it comes to our blood pressure. But anyway, we're here to break it all down with a little help from our friends at the MT Spot. They've got this article. Hold on, let me see. It's titled, "Why Does My Blood Pressure Fluctuate?" And it really caught our eye.
It's a great article. Really dives into some interesting nuances about blood pressure.
Which, let's be honest, can be a little confusing. We hear blood pressure all the time, but understanding what's normal and what's not.
Especially when those numbers start jumping around.
Exactly. And that, my friends, brings us to today's deep dive. Labile hypertension. Sounds kind of intense, right?
It does, doesn't it? Like a medical villain in a movie or something. But really, it's about understanding the difference between normal blood pressure variations and those more extreme swings. You see, your blood pressure isn't meant to be this constant, steady thing. It naturally goes up and down throughout the day, depending on what you're doing, what you're eating, even just how you're feeling. Labile hypertension is when those swings get, shall we say, a bit overzealous.
Okay, so it's like the difference between, I don't know, a gentle wave versus a tsunami.
Exactly. It's all about the intensity of those fluctuations.
So how do we know if our blood pressure is doing the jitterbug when it should be waltzing? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Well, that's the thing, you might not even realize it's happening. Unlike some health conditions that wave giant red flags, this one can be surprisingly stealthy. You might not have any noticeable symptoms other than those high readings on your monitor.
So it's like a silent operator.
Yeah.
That makes it even more important to be tracking your blood pressure regularly.
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing your numbers is key, and that's where a good relationship with your doctor comes in. They can help you understand what's normal for you. But to answer your question, there can be some signs to watch out for. Headaches, dizziness, feeling like your heart's about to win a marathon. Sound familiar?
Yeah, I think we've all been there at some point, right?
Yeah.
How do you know if it's just nerves or something more? I know whenever I have to give a presentation.
Your heart starts racing.
Oh, yeah. So is that labile hypertension, or am I just nervous?
Well, it could be either, honestly. But you're right to bring it up because the article we're looking at today points to a usual suspect in the case of fluctuating blood pressure: stress.
Stress, that old chestnut. It always seems to be lurking around, doesn't it?
It's the uninvited guest that just loves to wreak havoc on our bodies. And the thing is, our bodies are hardwired to react to stress with a fight or flight response. It's a survival mechanism, right? Back in the day, it helped us outrun danger.
So when that email notification pops up with a subject line like urgent action required, our bodies think we're staring down a saber-toothed tiger.
Pretty much. Our poor systems haven't quite caught up to the digital age.
We need a software update or something. But seriously, it makes sense that this fight or flight response, while helpful in certain situations, isn't so great when it's triggered by everyday stressors.
Right, and that's where those blood pressure spikes can come into play.
So stress is public enemy number one. What else is on the list?
Ooh, you better believe there's more. But that's a story for after the break. We'll be right back to uncover the other culprits behind those blood pressure swings.
Okay, so stress is one of those things that can really make our blood pressure go haywire.
It's a major culprit, that's for sure.
But I'm guessing it's not the only one, right? What else is lurking in the shadows of those blood pressure swings?
Well, you know how we always talk about listening to your body? Sometimes those blood pressure swings are like little whispers.
Hinting that something else might be going on.
Exactly. The article mentions a few key players that often fly under the radar.
Right.
Thyroid issues, for one. They can really throw your body out of whack.
Right.
And blood pressure fluctuations can be one of those telltale signs.
It's like our thyroid is the conductor of our hormonal orchestra, and when it's out of tune, the whole symphony goes a bit haywire.
Love that analogy. And then there are the kidneys, those unsung heroes filtering our blood 24/7.
Working overtime.
Exactly. And when they're not functioning optimally, it can definitely show up in our blood pressure.
So our kidneys are like the body's filtration system,
Exactly.
working tirelessly behind the scenes.
Yep.
And sometimes those blood pressure swings are their way of saying, hey, Could use a little love over here.
Something like that.
So interesting. Okay, what else? What other sneaky culprits are we talking about here?
Well, this one might surprise you, but sleep apnea is often overlooked.
Sleep apnea. Really? I always thought that was just about snoring.
Snoring is a common symptom, but sleep apnea is actually much more than that. It disrupts your breathing throughout the night,
Oh, wow.
which puts stress on your body
I see.
and can lead to, you guessed it, blood pressure fluctuations.
Wow, I had no idea it could have such a significant impact. So we're talking about a whole detective story here, with our bodies sending out these little clues. And it's up to us to, like, piece them together. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's where having a good relationship with your doctor is so
You
important.
know, like our health detective partners.
Exactly. They can help you decipher those clues, order the right tests if needed, and ultimately figure out the best course of action.
Which is ultimately what we all want,
Right.
to understand what's going on and how to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
So true. Okay, so we've explored some of the potential suspects in the case of the fluctuating blood pressure. Now, let's talk solutions, because knowing what causes these ups and downs is one thing,
Right.
but knowing what to do about them is a whole other story.
Absolutely. So let's dive into that.
Let's do it. All right, so we've talked about what can cause those blood pressure swings.
From everyday triggers to those sneakier underlying conditions.
Right. So let's get down to it. What can we actually do about labile hypertension? What can we do to, keep those numbers from going on a roller coaster ride every other day?
Well, the good news is that a lot of the solutions are things you've probably heard before.
Like eat your vegetables, get some sleep.
Exactly. Those healthy habits we all know we should be doing.
Okay, so hit me with it. What's the recipe for happy, balanced blood pressure?
Well, let's start with the basics. Diet. You know that old saying, you are what you eat?
Oh, yeah.
It's true. A balanced diet can do wonders for your blood pressure.
What does that even look like when we're talking about blood pressure, though? Is it different than just like a generally healthy diet?
That's a great question. And it's not always about drastically changing everything, but making sure you're getting enough fruits, vegetables, whole grains,
Okay, so the usual suspects.
pretty much. And lean protein is important too. But it's not just about what you are eating, it's also about what you're not eating.
Oh, here we go. The avoid list. I knew it.
You know it. Cutting back on processed foods, sugary drinks, and too much salt can make a big difference.
So basically channeling our inner foodie, but maybe in a slightly healthier way.
Exactly.
Okay, so diet's important. What else?
Well, as much as some people might not want to hear it,
Ugh, exercise?
you know it. Regular physical activity is like magic for your blood pressure.
Okay, but does it have to be like marathon training? Because I'm not sure I'm cut out for that.
Not at all. Even moderate exercise can make a huge difference. Brisk walking, swimming, dancing.
Okay, so finding something you enjoy and actually sticking with it.
You got it.
All right, and I know we have to talk about it. Stress, it's the silent killer, right? Or at least it feels that way sometimes.
It really can take a toll both mentally and physically.
And I think we've all had those moments where we can, like, feel our blood pressure rising when we're stressed out.
Oh, absolutely. And the article actually highlights some really great strategies for managing stress. Mindfulness meditation, deep breathing exercises, spending time in nature.
Okay, so hitting the reset button, giving our minds and bodies a break. Love it. Now, I do want to touch on medication because I know that's something that a lot of people are curious about. Is that something that's typically used for labile hypertension?
It really depends on the individual and the situation. In some cases, yeah, medication might be recommended, especially if lifestyle changes alone aren't doing the trick.
So that's definitely a conversation to have with your doctor.
Yeah.
Right? They can help figure out the best approach.
Exactly. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Right. And speaking of finding what works, we briefly touched on natural supplements earlier. Any final thoughts on those? They can be a bit of a gray area, it seems like.
They can be. And it's important to remember that natural doesn't always equal safe.
Oh, good point.
Right. Some herbs and supplements can actually interact with medications,
No.
or they can have some unexpected side effects. So it's crucial, really crucial, to talk to your doctor before adding any new supplements to your routine.
Especially if you're already taking medication.
Exactly.
It's all about those open lines of communication with our healthcare providers.
Couldn't agree more. Knowledge is power when it comes to our health, and knowing what we're taking and why is so important.
Well said. Well, listeners, there you have it. Labile hypertension, those blood pressure swings, and what you can do to navigate it all. It's about understanding those fluctuations, talking to your doctor, and really just taking charge of your health. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive, and until next time, stay curious.